Welcome back to the Peak Performance Podcast. And I tell you what, if there is ever an individual that encapsulates the philosophy behind Peak and also the ideology behind this podcast, it is Tash. So welcome. Thank you for coming down, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honoured to have been brought in so early on. I'm excited.
All good. And how are you, Jay? You good?
Good. Ready to go. Yeah.
We've just handballed the kids off so we can get in here with Tash, and we're all set.
As always, I think you'll hear there'll be a bit of kid chat today. Tash has two beautiful twin boys, Scout and Avery, so same ages, very similar age to Harry. So we're in a similar boat there in parenthood.
Amazing. Now, when I think about Peak, what I love and one of my favourite things in the world is that you can be training at a squat rack and you have somebody next to you that maybe potentially you do know, or somebody absolutely magnificent that you have no idea of some of the physical prowess and some of the amazing things that they've done. And that's why we really wanted to highlight some of the incredible people in our community. First time in our podcast so far that I have brought some stats.
Done some research.
So hopefully on our cameras we can't see my handwriting because it's very poor, and Tash is the teacher as well. But from a sporting perspective, Tash has been a multi-sport athlete, primarily in ice hockey and Aussie rules football. Please let me know if I missed anything here, because I'm sure that the internet just didn't have enough scrolls to be able to find this extensive list. But 3 McCowan Trophy wins. You've represented us 6 times at World Championships for ice hockey. At the World Champs, this was best forward, so on a world stage twice. 3 times point scorer, top point scorer for the league. You've obviously represented Australia. You captained the Woodworth Torrens Football Club in their inaugural team. I think potentially prior to the AFLW, were you the captain of the Port Adelaide sort of initial teams as well, I've seen. And you represented SA against Victoria for footy. You are amazing.
Unreal,
and I
Tash.
bet you, not only because you're a very humble human being and you wouldn't go around spruiking that too. Obviously, I guess maybe the notoriety of ice hockey in Australia isn't sort of as grand as some of the other sports. But, mate, have I missed anything in that list quickly?
Oh, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I did try roller derby.
Oh, yes,
as well.
I forgot about that as
you
well.
You know, a quirky little a world, that one, but still amazing athletes that sit in that space, and someone that comes here actually in Crusher.
Yes.
There's a connection there through roller derby too, but another sport on skate. So other than that, I think you've hit the nail on the head there.
I think we can just assume that you are seriously tough, Tash, because from my perspective, and this is all subjective, I'd say actually just reminded me, roller derby is right up there in terms of toughness, because those people on skates falling onto concrete is insane, let me say, but amazing to watch. I love it, especially once you start to get to know the nuances. I think for me, like, third toughest sport is Aussie rules. It's pretty 360. Obviously, with some of the concussion issues that are starting to happen now, the rules are being manipulated to settle it down. I think number 2 sport for toughness is rugby. I've been fortunate to work at the State of Origin here in Adelaide, and there's nothing like hearing 2 slabs of 130 kilo meat just slap against each other and then run backwards and do it again. I love our rugby league community, but it's a different sort of world. But for me, ice hockey would be number 1. And that's simply, I guess, a mindset. Not that I particularly agree with it, but I've seen people trying to hide like broken jaws and broken bones because they wanted to get back out on the ice, or they didn't want to lose their spot in the team. Where does it rate for you in terms of the physical capacities required for the different sports you've played? Do you have a ranking of toughest to easiest in your world, or is it all just different?
I think it's all just different in a way, because I think about something like football, and the anaerobic and aerobic capacity that you need for that is quite extensive, especially if you're like on the ball, for instance, having to run around. There's a whole different energy system, whereas with ice hockey, it's very interval based. So then training the different systems to be fit for that, they're just so different in their own way. And I found football extremely challenging, but also I've never been fitter. I learned a lot from the training that sits with football, actually. I used to just go 100% all the time with ice hockey as a young player, thinking I have to go 100%, I have to go 100%. And it wasn't until actually I went to the Eagles, and Peak was connected with the Eagles at that time, hence our connection. But just that knowledge building of you don't have to be 100% when you're trying to get fit. You can be really strategic in what heart rate zone you're running in or what pace you want to run in. So I think in terms of the toughness of them, in a fitness sense, they're all very different. But yeah, footy's hard in its own way. Hockey's hard in its own way. You know, that's a 360 sport. You're stopping, starting. You're out there for like 40 seconds to a minute, and then you're off, and then you're recovering for 3 minutes. So it's all just hard. That's why I admire athletes. You know, they're not doing it because it's easy. They're hard in their own right. Yeah.
I'll be honest, I had not watched a singular ice hockey game before the community came to us at Peak, and I feel so blessed that we've got to know yourself and so many other of our members and athletes that are in the ice hockey community, and it is a fascinating game to watch. You know, we've talked a little bit about from a physiological perspective, from a technical perspective, from a toughness perspective. I guess it is potentially maybe a little bit more, in Australia anyway, a niche sport. I know in the States, in Canada, overseas, it definitely has a bigger presence. How did you come to the sport?
It was a very random experience. I think my mum used to work in a shop that was next door to an inline rink. And in the school holidays, I went and learned how to rollerblade. And then I did that from maybe like 8 to around 14. And then I was at Noarlunga Ice Rink, which is a really small ice rink. It's not a full one. And there was a coach there, and it was a come and try ice hockey. And I went and tried, and she basically said, "Oh, we're going away with the state team in a couple of weeks. Did you want to come and play for this ice hockey team?" And that was literally my introduction. And then from there, it would have been a couple of months in, there was a IIHF, so International Ice Hockey Federation development camp in Finland. And it brought like all the countries together and kind of showed you the ropes and connected people. And I got invited to go to that. And so there was just so many opportunities with ice hockey. And then my mum and my dad were like, you can't be doing both. You can't do inline and ice hockey. You have to make your choice. And then that's kind of where I entered into ice hockey at around 14 years old, just from the opportunity. And it was just a really brief moment of a decision to go to a come and try, and then that was it. So that's how it started for me.
Are the pathways the same now or better? Or like if we had a junior athlete out here who was interested in doing ice hockey, how would that happen?
Yeah, so it all comes out of the one place in Adelaide. We have one rink. It's at the Adelaide Ice Rink. If I look at what it used to be when I first started, there wasn't a huge amount of hockey. There's summer leagues now. There's lots of different grades that you can go into. There's junior grassroots programs. There's a lot out there. So yeah, if there were any young people out there that wanted to give it a go, or older people, you can start at any age. Just reaching out to the ice rink and or myself or anyone that you know. I mean, Steve Best from Peak is also an ice hockey guy. So just reach out to someone and they'll point you in the right direction.
Yeah, cool.
Now, we haven't touched base on anything before. We just literally brought you in here and chatted. So I don't know where this question may go, but I know I'm starting to realise more, obviously, as a parent, that kids are shit sometimes, to be honest with you. And
challenging.
Challenging,
yeah.
Sorry. You can bleep that out. Kim, our editor. No, that's fine. Play on. I think Walshy scored it a few times as well. Did you have any kickback, or did anybody give you any stick at school? Like if you're a 14-year-old female at school and then you're playing ice hockey, did anybody question that, or was it pretty just well accepted? How come you're not playing netball? Was there anything along those lines, or was it pretty straightforward?
Yeah, I think it was pretty straightforward for me. I was probably one of the only people in my high school that did it, but hockey for me was almost like a saving grace in a way, because when you're in high school, you've always got that fork in the road. You can go one way or you can go the other way, and I think for me, ice hockey was that thing that kept me grounded. It helped me find a purpose. It very much was my identity at that time, which also had challenges later when I took a step back from hockey. And I think a lot of athletes could probably relate to that, when their identity is so tied into something and then it's not there anymore. But for hockey, for me at high school age, that was the thing that helped elevate me as a person. It's the thing that took me around the world. It's the thing that I could go away to state or go away with the Australian team as a young person. It helped mature me. When I came back to school, I could talk to people about it. about a different country that I went to or a different experience that I had. You know, it provided me really solid role models in my life. So for me, it was kind of like a cool thing to talk about, and it was something like, oh, you know, Tash plays ice hockey. So it wasn't necessarily anything that was challenged in that way. It was more just, yeah, that's just what I did, and I still do it now, funnily enough. Like, it's been well over 20 years. It doesn't matter whether you take a break, it always pulls you back in somehow. But yeah, I would say that it was, yeah, part of my identity and part of something that elevated me as a person and helped me to become a better person, a well-rounded person, I suppose. Yeah.
Amazing. You know, for me, I'm very grateful for the fact that you introduced us to ice hockey. So our connection to it, as Jamie sort of alluded to before, was because of this fantastic human being sitting in the chair here. I remember I got a message one day. I can't remember what year it was. I think maybe could have been 4 or even 5 years ago now, potentially. There had been some turmoil in the Australian ice hockey sort of world, and there was a new breakout competition. You were the general manager, which again is amazing. I didn't even sort of mention that. We obviously talked about your playing prowess, but off the ice as well, you've done equally amazing things. And that discussion there led to probably 2 of the best moments in my career. You know, winning championships on a state level with Adelaide Extreme, and then moving on to sort of the national competition there, where we got the win over the Ducks over in Melbourne. We had Matilda with us as well. I think Jamie was heavily pregnant. We had just sitting down for maybe 2 hours in the Melbourne ice rink. But it was just an incredible journey. And
well, it's such an amazing community, and something that Sean and I have experienced, you know, working in sport across many diverse sports, is some of the more maybe lowly funded sports or less popular sports have such an amazing community feel. And I guess that's potentially a bit of the trade-off there. You've got lower resources as coaches, as players, but because of that, you all band together and all pull together. And, you know, some of our greatest experiences, yeah, as Sean mentioned, has been traveling interstate with the kids, and you and all the players, like, we just felt like another part of the team. So that probably connects to what you're saying about your experience there with being a young person in playing hockey and feeling really supported and empowered, that, yeah, some of those maybe less recognised sports have such an amazing community feel. Have you felt that in the ice hockey community?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a small community, and even when we get imports coming over to play with like the Adelaide Rush women's team, one thing they always say is the Adelaide Ice Arena reminds them of their home barn. It's got a really good feel. If you look around the place, it's very old, but just the energy that sits in there for those import players that come over, they feel really connected, and they keep coming back. So that's really positive. But I think, yeah, testament to you guys as well, because the Breakout League was during like a COVID era almost, and all the leagues had kind of collapsed. And so there was an opportunity to try and just put something out there to allow people to continue playing hockey. And yeah, it was literally just do you want to connect? Because it's like, how do you elevate something? You're starting something from scratch. How do you provide players an experience that they haven't had before? They had training, but it was all in isolation or in silos. It was never coordinated. So that connection here was amazing. It just gave them a sense of, what does it feel like to be on a professional team? What does it feel like to have access to recovery? What does it feel like to have someone that's going to come around and support us and warm us up? And that's obviously continued because, you know, we've got the women's team coming out of here. You've got Stevie working out of here now. The Adrenaline guys are back in, ready, prepping for their season. You know, there's a jersey on the wall. That was, yeah, I agree. It was an amazing experience, and testament to you guys, because that's what you guys do here, I feel. I was thinking about it, like, from a leadership perspective, what kind of leaders are you? And I was trying to, like, you know, find how I would describe it, and I'd call it like almost like servant leadership. You know, some people are in leadership for recognition and things, but you guys do it to serve. And I think that just kind of describes, well, she was talking about his connectedness here in the previous podcast, and I think that's because you guys lead to serve others, and that empowers others, and you guys do that so well. And I think that's why probably the hockey players keep coming back, and you know, the numbers are growing here. It's just a testament to what you guys have done. You say yes to help people. And yeah, I admire that very much in both of you.
Oh, we
thanks,
appreciate
Tash.
it. Thank you.
Along that community line, I'm feeling supported in a sport that maybe you're participating in that potentially could cost you more money than you're earning. I know you have your own beautiful little family unit. As I mentioned before, 2 little boys that are similar age as Harry. How do you make it all happen, Tash? You also have a really solid career, which you can delve into a little bit if you want to in teaching. You're giving up your time in the community to coach, you're playing, all these amazing achievements. How do you make it happen?
That's a great question. I was reflecting on this because often I question myself. I'm like, how on earth are we doing this? A lot of people be like, you guys are doing an amazing job. And I think, if only you were a fly on the wall in the mornings. Look, I think number one, for me to be able to do all the things I do, I have a really supportive partner in Tani. Tani holds the fort when I have to go into state or, and she's got a really important job as well. She's a director of an early education centre, so she's a leader in her own right as well. And I think it also comes down to just like good systems. We have good systems. We're a great partnership, and there's sometimes that one has to step up and then the other one, holds the fort, and then vice versa. It's that fine art of trying to find balance, which you grapple with every day anyway. But I think, supportive partner, number one. I try and really make sure that, I'm in educational leadership, so I'm in a new position at the moment where I'm expanding my leadership in my career, and I try and make sure that any learning that I do is going to help me in all aspects of my life. So whether that's to become a better person, a better leader at work, or a better parent, so I just be really strategic in what I love learning, but what am I learning? I need to try and find stuff that I'm learning that I can apply and transfer into other parts of my life. I feel like it's that life balance. I often think about life balance because people say work-life balance, and I feel like, that just really throws a 50-50 percentage on it. That's not really realistic because it's not you work to live. You don't live to work. So that whole work-life terminology feels like, it's not 50-50 though. You've got career, you've got social, you've got financial, you've got personal development, you've got health, you've got family. There's so many parts to the pie, and they all need a nice even percentage. And so I always try and think, when it gets a bit much, like, let's just center up a little bit here. I can't be a 10 out of 10 effort on all of them. It's a give and take scenario. So it's just forever grappling and, reviewing and making sure that we're trucking away and we're getting things done and we're being present. I think that's huge, particularly when you have children, is making sure that you're present. And it's never perfect. So just, embracing and becoming comfortable with imperfection. And just being adaptable. It's that leadership thing, applying your adaptability from your career into other parts of your life. It's just always learning. I can't say that it's perfect because it's not. But I'm always trying to reflect and learn and grow, and we just make it work.
I love that you have said that, and I feel like we could talk. Sean and I are rubbing our hands together. Nothing irritates me more than this conversation around work-life balance. And I think we have come so far in the wellness space in understanding that your health and wellness is so crucial for you to be able to, that pouring from an empty cup is not a good thing. So I'm definitely not knocking that. I'm the first person to advocate for looking after yourself and your well-being. However, I think that work-life balance terminology is quite unrealistic. There's going to be times in your life, if you have goals, if you have priorities, if you're trying to strive for something, there isn't going to be a perfect balance. You're going to be out of balance for a while in order to achieve something. If something is a worthwhile goal to you, you're going to have to tip that balance. And like you said, maybe that's, having really supportive partners or having some really firm strategies in place, always coming back and recentering and refocusing, and how can we how can we work through this maybe a little bit more challenging time where there isn't balance in order to achieve something. So I love that you've laid out that it's actually not as clear cut as a 50-50. There are so many other elements and pathways, and if you have a goal, whether it's fitness related, whether it's career based, whether it's family, those barometers are gonna shift.
It's about sacrifice, because if you're like 10 out of 10 effort in your social life and you've got all these other things that you want to work towards, you can't be 10 out of 10 in all the things. It's a give and take. You actually have to take a bit of energy from one space to be able to give it to the other space. So that's that prioritizing. What are your priorities? And that shifts all the time. Like, my priority as an athlete was always be my best, get away to Worlds, do X, Y, Z. Whereas now I've had to pull from that space and I'm putting a little more into, say, my family or my career or whatever it is. But, I'm not going to Worlds this year. I very well could have. I was on the list, but I've made that decision that I can't give what I need to in certain spaces that are my priority if I go away and do that. It's the give and take, and it's never linear either. It's always, that's why that reflection is so important of like, well, what actually does matter to you at the moment, and are you willing to sacrifice to make that happen? And you have to pull from other places, and that impacts identity, especially if you've had your identity attached into something. There's almost like a mourning the loss of your previous self in a way, like, because you're so used to being a certain way, and when you can't do that anymore, it's really hard. There's an ego attached to it too, like as a player, if you really thrive off of doing well and you measure yourself off of, whether that's points or contributions or how many hits, people have different measurements of success for themselves. But like, for me, it's, I can't be that person anymore. One, because I'm much older, and I can't physically do the things I used to do. I don't go 100% anymore. It's a more smarter, not harder approach. So I then measure my success on how do I lead this team, or, try and change the goalposts a little bit. But yeah, it's a really tricky landscape for people, like when they have an injury, their identity is crushed because they're like, oh, but I was meant to be doing X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, you have to, number one, accept that. But then how are you going to level yourself up from here? Because the universe has said you need to slow down or you need to stop. There's something there for you. It's just forever reviewing, forever checking your balance, and getting those priorities.
I think
right.
that taps into the mental side of sport. There's that physical component, and that's really important. But when you're presented with obstacles or challenges, I think you've described it beautifully there. In, okay, I still want to play and give my best and help the team, but maybe your role looks different. You're giving to the team still through leadership or through what you can bring into the ice hockey community. You've built those connections for so many players to close the gap, which is our motto. So I think you've described that beautifully.
You girls are on fire. I always worried that I was going to speak too much, but I can sit here. I reckon we need to get you girls on TED Talk. It's like, we've got at least 4 10-second snippets for social media now. I love it. That's great. I'm about to run through a brick wall. I'm so inspired. Do you mind if we delve a little bit deeper into, you've mentioned it a few times in that transition in identity. Was that a long process for you? Was that finite? Is it ongoing? And maybe, I guess, where I wanted to go with it is, do you have any advice for those people who may be battling with that at the moment and in a transitional phase of their athletic or career or whatever it may be life?
Yeah, I feel like it's forever ongoing. It's not as intense as what it was. When I played college hockey years ago now, it makes me recognise how much time has passed. But after college, I came back and I had to finish my university degree, and I wanted to pull back from hockey because I wanted to try and put more time into my career. I'm like, I've done this for so long, I've committed so much. And I never expected to experience the low that I have pulling away from something that I had done my whole life. I didn't actually recognise how much of my identity was attached to being a hockey player. And so that was a really challenging time because I kind of almost like lost myself. Not that that's a terrible thing, because you end up elevating and adjusting, but that was huge for me. It made me think, whoa, I need to really have a think about this. This is not really healthy, because I really didn't recognise how much I was just zoned in on doing that and not seeing beyond hockey. So there was that moment. And then once I got into my career, that's why I tried footy, tried a bit of roller derby, because I still needed to commit to something, but I didn't want it to be hockey. I just needed to break away a little bit. But then again, the same thing's happened as I've gotten older and I can't do what I used to do anymore. I just don't play the same. I'm not saying it's less effective. I just used to approach the game in a much different way. I had more time to commit to the fitness side of things and my whole commitment to hockey. I don't have that anymore because I've got children, I've got a partner, I've got a career. So there was another identity shift that happened there of I can't level my success on the output of my game in a points sense or in an effort sense. And so then I really had to transition from I needed to be a senior player, so I needed to be a smarter, not harder, and that's where I've started to level in, okay, well, my contribution can be how calm can I be in the dressing room, or, what leadership strategies from work can I come and apply to my hockey team as the captain? What communication strategies have I learned at work that I can try and embed in our team? There's restorative practices, there's relational currency building, there's just other leadership lenses that I try and bring in to try and add value. I worked with the other leaders. How can I empower the other leaders that I'm working with? So again, identity shift, because that was an ego, that was a bruised ego there for a little bit, not doing the things that you want to do because you think, oh, but people think I play this way. I need to hold that standard. It's like, you don't. It's okay. You can pivot. And you settle in, it's uncomfortable. It's just an uncomfortable experience.
Zooming sort of back into our realm here, this can be as broad or as centred as you like. You've obviously gone from representing Australia, and then obviously the transitions through your life from a playing perspective. What about training? How's your relationship with training changed over that time? And did you, in a lowly funded sport, did you receive much assistance in the training realm even when you were representing Australia, or was that a bit more self-driven?
Yeah, there was a program.
Yeah.
But just on the Australian thing first, there was a program, but we're all in different states, so it was in isolation, and that depends on what you have access to, etc. So you have to be autonomous and committed in your own way. It's getting better. Like they'll have camps where you can go and measure up your foundation fitness levels and track your growth, but it is very much siloed effort. In regards to my approach to training, that's something that I've grappled with because I had all the time in the world to do what I wanted to do on my time, and now I'm a parent. So, smarter, not harder. I'm not giving myself such a hard time, and I do struggle, especially in off season. And it's about scheduling it in. My time is this time and this time, and it might only be 2 days a week, but I see it as more of this is my personal time. It's almost like a meditation for me to come and have my quiet time and lift some weights or, get on the bike or whatever. My partner Tanya does the same thing. She'd had to sacrifice so much because it wasn't just the pregnancy, but then it was the newborn phase and then it was the toddler phase that we're in now, and I'm off doing bits and pieces interstate regularly. She now schedules in her Pilates. Her mornings are her time. And so it's a schedule. Yeah. It's a schedule, and you can't just fluff your way through it. You have to acknowledge, okay, this means something to me. It's important to me. I need to schedule it in, particularly when I have kids, I have a job, I have a partner, I have all these other aspects I need to uphold. It's a schedule thing for us. I know that sounds really boring. No. But if you don't schedule it in,
sometimes, those more quote unquote boring things like consistency, like scheduling, they're not rocket science, but these are the things that actually do build those building blocks in order for you to achieve really great things. I'd like to launch back a little bit. It seems like identity is a really key component to your story. And I know you mentioned before saying that you like to take learnings from lots of different areas of your life so that you can apply it and hopefully gain really good results across the board. You've touched on identity in terms of being an athlete, identity in terms of your career, identity in terms of parenthood. Has there been learnings through what does identity mean to you, I guess, is the first part of that, and have you learnt learnings from each different identity in order to improve your performance overall?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I was thinking about this the other morning, like from a teaching perspective. there's a lot of kids that can go and commit to a sport and they'll be awesome. They'll be there on time, they'll get to their training sessions, they'll, meet all the requirements of the team. But then when it comes to schooling, for instance, you don't see the same patterns of behaviour. And I think for me, it's like you actually have to carry that football person into your schooling environment, or you have to carry that football person into that other environment. And I think that's probably what I used to do. I used to like silo or compartmentalize my commitments, whereas so they were all quite separate for me. But now, as I am in the place that I'm in now, I feel like identity is something that just authentically sits across all the spaces of my life. So, like I want to be present. Well, I want to be present in all of the spaces of my life. I want to be a good communicator. I want to do that in all the spaces of my life. So, yeah, I feel like I used to struggle with that because developmentally that's what people do, because that's what they feel like they need to do. I see it in my students all the time. I'm like, but you're not handing up assignments. You're not rolling up to school on time, but you do it at football or you do it at netball. Why can't you bring that person here? Or, you're in a drama class outside of here, or you're doing, shows or plays or whatever, and you're super confident there, but why can't you bring those interpersonal skills here? So yeah, I don't know whether that answers the question, but I feel like identity to me is more just being centered and authentic, and then making sure that you're taking that person and being consistent across all parts of your life.
Yeah, that definitely answers it.
Yeah, I think we need to get our daughter Matilda to come have a chat to Tash, because at the moment hers are flipped over. We get these beautiful reports and messages. Matilda has been an angel at school today. And then I think she's just decisioned out by the end of the day, and by the time she gets home to us, she said, I want apple juice now.
She's also a 5-year-old in reception, we're setting the bar fairly high there.
Yeah, expectations are very high.
No, she's going to do great. She's got brilliant role models,
We'll see how we go.
Awesome.
Hey, Tash, thank you so much. Honestly, I mean it very sincerely in terms of we're grateful to have you as a part of our community. Your involvement in our community has led to some amazing experiences for us. I love the way that you interact with everybody here. And honestly, just sitting here and listening to the way you articulated your journey, I didn't think there was another level, but I've got another level of admiration for you and what you do and what you continue to do. So, mate, I think there's some huge takeaways there for everybody who listens. Please, if you are on the gym floor, well, just take a little bit of her time and just go say good day, because
she's a busy woman.
She's a busy woman. She's on a tight schedule. But please feel free to share that you've listened to this, because I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. But thank you for your time, mate, and really looking forward to seeing where your journey continues to go.
Oh, thank you so much for your time this morning, guys. I appreciate both of you a lot, so thank you.
So there you have it, Tash Farrier, in what's probably one of my favourite episodes to date. The two things for me, number one, is that identity is a journey, and then just ride the waves. There's going to be times where potentially you're very ingrained in a particular identity, but there will be times where you have to separate yourself from that and find yourself in a new light. The other one is redefining our thought of the work-life balance, understanding that there are so many other factors like social and family and finance that impact that as well. So maybe let's not think of it as a 50-50 split.